explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. There are but a few places on earth so special, so unique, and so spectacular, where it becomes the rite of passage for the ambitious travelers, the courageous souls, to all have the one and only royal experience. That day when you look deep into your heart and leap into an ancient world so very different from your own, where magic, beauty, and love are shared forever, then you will have a royal experience. There is just one place on earth where the people make you feel a part of their kingdom, where you just might volunteer to awaken spirits, enrich minds, and work alongside communities to build, motivate, and inspire. This is truly the royal experience. When you dream of a different world, beyond the ordinary, beyond time, discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
It has just gone 8 o'clock Central African time. Good evening and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Anebo Ngwane, alongside Namakabiso Ngambole. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We're coming to you live from our Hospital Hill studios in Mbabane. Let's take a look at our top stories. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has returned to home after attending the 16th African Union Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, where he had gone to represent His Majesty King Eswatini III. Following the resolution by the House of Assembly that no child should be sent back home for owing school fees, the Minister of Education says government is in the process of paying for overseas academic fees at Form 1. And the Deputy Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, says the exposure to violence during childhood has exclusive damaging and negative consequences on the physical, socio-economical and mental aspect of the child. And now the news in detail. The Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini, has returned home after attending the 16th African Union Summit in Malabo, that's in Equatorial Guinea, where he had gone to represent His Majesty King Eswatini III in the extraordinary Head of State Summit. The Prime Minister returned through the King Eswatini III International Airport.
The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini is back home from Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, where he had gone to represent His Majesty King Mswati III. The Prime Minister says they were able to deliberate on different topics in the two-day summit, which took place from the 27th and the 28th of May, which was attended by the Prime Minister on behalf of the King in the 16th Extraordinary Summit for African leaders. He says issues that were discussed include the humanitarian challenges, consideration and declaration of the Malabo Declaration. He says governments have noted with concern the rising acts of terrorism which countries condemn.
Unconstitutional changes of government, consolidated actions to strengthen constitutionalism and democracy. Consideration and adoption of Malabo Declaration and the Declaration on Terrorism and Unconstitutional Change of Government. The main focus of the humanitarian summit was the creation of the Human Fund as well as operationalization of the African Union Humanitarian Agency, where the African states unite in the humanitarian cause. The summit adopted the Malabo Declaration and pledged to continuously mobilize resources for the humanitarian cause. The main focus of the terrorism and unconstitutional change of government in Africa was strengthening the African Union framework and early warning systems for counter-terrorism and unconstitutional changes of government in Africa.
The Prime Minister says as countries pledged in the humanitarian fund, Eswatini for now hasn't pledged anything as yet, as there are things to be discussed before pledges can be made. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian Msibi at the King Mswati III International Airport.
Following a resolution by the House of Assembly that no child should be sent back home for owing school fees, the Minister for Education, Lady Howard, says the government is in the process of paying for overseas academic fees at Form 1. She says no learners should be sent back home for owing school fees.
So Nkanzi already Hulumende is paying more than 50%, close to 60% of Labambana Labasa High School.
So in other words,
the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku says exposure to violence during childhood has exclusive, damaging and negative consequences on the physical, socio-economical and mental aspect of the child. The Deputy Prime Minister was speaking during the launch of this year's Month of the Child, which was also a prize-giving ceremony for the 2022 letter writing competition for winners.
On Tuesday, the Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku launched the June 2022 Children's Month, which was also a prize-giving ceremony to the winners of the 2022 Eswatini letter writing competition by the Eswatini Communications Commission, ECCOM. The Deputy Prime Minister says exposure to violence during childhood has exclusive, damaging and negative consequences on the physical, social, economic and mental health aspect of the child.
That violence against children is harmful in every sense of its definition. In both the short term and the long term, exposure to violence during childhood has exclusive damaging and negative consequences on the physical, on the social, on the economic and mental health aspects of the child. Violence robs the children the opportunity to be educated and to participate in national development issues. Violence deprives children the opportunity to grow into their imaginative and innovative dreams. Above all, violence creates an angry and troubled generation full of rage. That is violence. In addition to Article 19 of the UNCRC, which I quoted earlier, I do want to briefly make reference to Section 29 of the 2005 National Constitution of Eswatini, which speaks to the rights of the child. This section makes reference to a number of aspects that obligate society to observe. It is the Constitution. In particular, it talks to the fact that a child shall not be subjected to abuse, and abuse is violence, torture is violence, and other cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment.
UNICEF Deputy Representative Afshin Pasi says both collective and individual action is required to make a difference in the lives of children with disabilities, including protecting them from all forms of abuse.
We require both collective and individual action to make a difference in the lives of children with disabilities, including protecting them from all forms of violence. Where systems are not there to protect children with disabilities, we must establish those systems. And when they exist, we need to strengthen them. We must improve our data to make these children visible and reachable with focused interventions to meet their needs and ensure their best interests are taken into account.
This year's theme is Eliminating Harmful Practices Affecting Children, Progress on the Policy and Practices since 2013, whereas the local theme is Eliminating All Forms of Violence Against Children in Eswatini, Our Collective Responsibility. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Swekoza with Muslim Konta, Matsapa.
The Minister of Tourism and Environmental Affairs, Moses Vilagate, has awarded the 2022-2023 Environment Fund beneficiaries. Now, the Minister says 6 applications were approved out of 49 applications received by the Environment Authority.
On Tuesday, the Minister for Tourism and Environmental Affairs awarded grants to the 2022-2023 Environment Fund beneficiaries. The Minister says the country needs to do more on issues of environmental protection, especially adapting to the reality of climate change.
Today, we are here to award 6, I repeat, 6 community projects that have met all the requirements for funding in line with the fund regulations and applications guidelines. I therefore take this opportunity to congratulate all the 6 successful projects that shall be awarded with the grants today. In this regard, I am happy that an amount of 1,135,950 emalangeni will be shared by the 6 recipients today.
Chairperson of the board at the Eswatini Environment Authority, Mfanaleni Mkhacha, says climate change and environmental issues calls for collaborative efforts.
Nokulimala kwalelive njengoba umthane Nkosi asibonisa nje. Live lilimele. Kodwa ke live uthi the program director nduna live lilimale kithi. Ngithi ngekwenda kwethu, ngithi ngekutiphatha kwethu.
In the 2022-2023 financial year, the Eswatini Environment Authority received 49 applications, and the projects under this fund include sectors such as sustainable land management, chemical and waste management, and climate change adaptation, amongst others. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Swekoza with Vominko Sinsinisa Ezulwini.
The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has made great strides in working towards a tobacco-free Eswatini. Now, according to the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Simon Zwane, he says even though there is more that needs to be done, Eswatini has designated places where people can smoke without putting other people in danger. Zwane was speaking during the celebration of the World No Tobacco Day held at Eswatini.
Joined the world in celebrating the World No Tobacco Day under the theme that encourages people to protect the environment. Speaking during the commemoration, the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Simon Zwane, says there are a number of restrictions in as far as advertising, selling and the use of tobacco that the government has put in place.
Eswatini has taken great strides in its efforts to control tobacco. The promulgation of the Tobacco Products Control Act has seen a complete end to tobacco sponsorship and advertising, as well as a reduction in the smoking of tobacco in public places, especially in public transport and other open areas.
The World Health Organization's Health Promotion Officer in Eswatini, Dr. Kevin Makatsange, says 1 in 10 young people use tobacco and other emerging new products.
Reminding the youths that you will need your health, every precious bit of it, in these wondrous times that are ahead. So avoid tobacco, avoid drugs, avoid alcohol, and other high-risk behaviors. Make responsible choices now. Lead your friends in a good direction by not smoking and not using drugs.
Nogwetu Mkumane shared her testimony on how she was able to quit smoking.
It is my plea with the tobacco to have, there's so much that has been said, so much that has been done with other things, but if I had wanted to sit down with other smokers and talk about the challenges that we face as smokers, there is no platform for that.
Tabile Dlamini, representing the acting CEO of Eswatini Environmental Authority, provided insight on the impact of tobacco on the environment. Dlamini says tobacco uses large amounts of land and large amounts of water, resulting to soil erosion. Dlamini says pesticides used deplete the ozone layer. Dr. Spesihle Dlamini from the Manzini Government Hospital Oncology Unit says about 600 people in Eswatini die due to tobacco-related illnesses. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlange Nudvumi Nkosinzinisa in Ezulwini.
The Women Farmer Foundation will now be able to back its work with research through the collaboration with the University of Eswatini. Now, according to the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, Professor Justice Twala, he says the university is working in improving entrepreneurial and innovation among their students by working with private sector and different organizations. Professor Twala was speaking during the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with Women Farmer Foundation in Luyengo.
In a bid to provide students from the University of Eswatini with entrepreneurial skills in the agricultural sector, the university has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Women Farmer Foundation. Speaking during the ceremony, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Eswatini, Professor Justice Twala, says the university is working on being the university of choice in Africa through such collaborations.
Also recognizes the state-of-art facilities, which is a fruit orchard, technological channel production units, and the Eswatini kitchen factory, which will play a major positive role in grooming the aspiring UNESCO students through periodic internships and mentorships, as well as provide employment upon graduation. UNESWA's technical staff also stands to benefit immensely from this exposure to WFF activities, and for that we are forever grateful, Margaret. It is our belief that through this collaboration, the UNESCO community services can be handled jointly and with undisputable success.
Women Farmer Foundation's director and founder, Sonia Paiva, says the organization wishes to allow young people to see opportunities in the agricultural sector.
So when we put the two synergies together, Women Farmer Foundation and the University of Eswatini, I can see that we are going to go somewhere, because you have the resources and we have the ability to convince the young people and show them the opportunities that we have within the agricultural sector. We have been working with the Minister of Agriculture for many, many years, I think from 2007. And through that as well, we've seen and learned quite a lot, because they do provide us with a lot of assistance with the expertise that they have.
The Memorandum of Understanding will assist in issues of agricultural-related researches. For Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni in Liengo.
The director of the Investor Roadmap Unit, Albert Kibi, says the Kingdom of Eswatini has hosted the 4th consultation workshops on the country's new companies bill that will see the formation of the electronic business registry. The director says Eswatini is supported by the government of New Zealand. Now, the project has provided 30 million emalangeni for technical assistance. Eswatini TV Sabkaziwe Koza has more on that story.
To improve online company registration in the Kingdom of Eswatini, the government of New Zealand donated 31 million emalangeni to Eswatini for the establishment of an electronic business registry to replace the existing online company registration platform. The establishment of the electronic business registry will be informed by the new companies bill. The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, through the Investor Roadmap Unit, has hosted the 4th session of the capacity building workshop for different stakeholders. The director of the Investor Roadmap Unit, Albert Kibi, says the electronic business registry platform will replace the country's current online company registration program as it does not align with international best practices.
The purpose of this electronic business registry is to ensure that company registration happens in the shortest time possible, and also it's very easy for the business person to comply or complete the forms and get response. We've heard from the demonstration that New Zealand is able to do, in New Zealand you are able to complete that registration within 30 minutes, and before the expiry of the business day you get your certificate of incorporation. This is the improvement that we want to move into, bearing in mind that we are a small economy, but we want to be at par with international best practices.
On another note, there are 55,000 private companies registered under the online company registry, with 1,550 public entities and 2,200 non-profit organizations, whereas business experts from the New Zealand, USA and Australia joined the workshop virtually. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkel Suekoza with Fuminko Sinsinisa Babane.
His Majesty King Mswati, the Commander-in-Chief of the Eswatini Defense Force, has commissioned the army to recruit soldiers. Now, the announcement was made by Senior Private Mthwalo Kina at Nogwani.
Lalela ndzaba letibuye enkosini utsokandaba lotivako kuyawujoyina emasotsheni akaphelele enkundleni yakhe hayi enhloko hovisi kepha baphelele tinkundleni bete nabometisa babo bebuve kusukela kulona iminyaka le-18 kuya kulona iminyaka le-35 abaphelele enkundleni yabo. Usho njalo ke Mswazi lomnyama kaBothulu ulodungandaba semampondweni Mswathi ke khawula abantu ngemvimbeko yatibona inhlothi emaduna yakungwa kungengwane kuyasathi yabikelana kungatabonyokane kaZulu bayethe gcinwa phakathi.
Mhla ka7 nga8 ekuseni eMathanjeni North, nga2 eMini eLugongolweni, mhla ka8 nga8 ekuseni eMaseyisini, nga2 eMini kuGege, mhla ka9 nga8 ekuseni eMhlangatane, nga2 eMini eMayiwane, mhla ka10 nga8 ekuseni eMadlangempisi, nga2 eMini eMkhiweni, mhla ka13 nga8 ekuseni eShiselweni 1, nga2 eMini kaZombotse, mhla ka14 nga8 ekuseni eSipiki, nga2 eMini eNzingeni, mhla ka15 nga8 ekuseni eKukhanyeni, nga2 eMini kuNkomiyahlaba, mhla ka16 nga8 ekuseni eMhlambanyathi, nga2 eMini eSiphoxosini, mhla ka-17 nga-8 ekuseni kukhubutha nga-2 emini kumthambama mhla ka-20 nga-8 ekuseni eHukwini nga-2 emini eMaphalaleni mhla ka-21 nga-8 ekuseni eNkweni nga-2 emini eShiselweni 2 mhla ka-22 nga-8 ekuseni ePhondo nga-2 emini kuMangcongco mhla ka-23 nga-8 ekuseni eTimpisini nga-2 emini eNthonjeni mhla ka-24 nga-8 ekuseni eMotshane nga-2 emini eNkhaba mhla ka-27 nga-8 ekuseni eMhlume nga-2 emini ngaloMahasha mhla ka-28 nga-8 ekuseni kuMahlangatsha nga-2 emini eNgwembisi mhla ka-29 nga-8 ekuseni eMbolonjeni nga-2 emini eDvokotveni mhla ka-30 nga-8 ekuseni eMafutseni nga-2 emini eGilgali mhla ka-1 kuJulayi nga-8 ekuseni eNkilongo nga-2 emini eLubulini mhla ka-4 nga-8 ekuseni eMthongwaneni nga-2 emini eNhlambeni mhla ka-5 nga-8 ekuseni eMathanjeni nga-2 emini ngaSomntongo mhla ka-6 nga-8 ekuseni eKwaluseni nga-2 emini eLudzeludze mhla ka-7 nga-8 ekuseni ngaLamgabi nga-2 emini eNdondozi mhla ka-8 nga-8 ekuseni eSiphofaneni nga-2 emini eSithobelweni mhla ka-11 nga-8 ekuseni eMbabane East nga-2 emini eMbabane West mhla ka-12 nga-8 ekuseni eHosiya nga-2 emini eSandleni mhla ka-13 nga-8 ekuseni eManzini North nga-2 emini eManzini South mhla ka-14 nga-8 ekuseni ngaLobamba nga-2 emini ngaLobamba lomdzala mhla ka-15 nga-8 ekuseni kuMethula.
Right now, let's take a look at how our markets are performing today in our financial report.
Standard Bank. It can be.
Welcome back. You're still with the news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. I'm Sunny Poingone. Thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. We shall now take a look at news making headlines in the world of sports. The Minister for Sports, Harry Siblunga, says the ministry intervened in the recent debacle between the Eswatini Football Association and the Premier League of Eswatini for the benefit of local football. The Premier League did not want players to be released before the conclusion of the season, while the Football Association wanted more time for the national team. Now, the minister was speaking when bidding farewell to the national team at Lobamba ahead of their trip away to Togo for their first leg of the 2023 AFCON qualifiers.
Following the recent disagreement between the National Football Association and the Premier League of Eswatini, where Premier League of Eswatini kept on emphasizing that players would be released for the national team Semnigati once the league was over, while the Football Association was requesting to have them early for better preparations. The Minister for Sports, Harry Siblunga, says the ministry had to intervene for the benefit of the local football. Minister Bulunga highlighted this when bidding forward to the national team Semnigati ahead of their trip to Togo for the 2023 AFCON qualifiers.
It is true that in recent weeks, a lot has happened that has eroded
the nation's trust in our football structures and by extension to our Sihlang. However, we are pleased to share with you that the ministry was able to bring the relevant stakeholders together last week and a lasting solution was found, and we all further reaffirmed our commitment to working together for the good of our football. It is based on this premise, therefore, that I also urge the nation, the entire nation, to put behind these unfortunate events of the past week and throw its full weight behind the national team.
Peter Similani, the Football Association president, wished the team all the best ahead of their journey to Togo.
Kudlalwe ke la siyakhona. Players ke nami ke ngiwabonile because kube nama practice match lamabili. And then in terms of lama practice matches, sibuka sakhanza ukuthi no response from the players is very, very good.
Both national team coach Dominic Nene and captain Ndomkonda assured the country that they are ready to represent well the country.
Silungiselele minister imalungiselelo ahambe kahle lokusijabulise kakhulu kuma preparations ethu i-commitment yabo badlali lenye selithemba kithi thina technical. Cha umdlalo sesiwulungiselele kakhulu bo coach bawendile umsebenzi bekumele bawende kithi sesingilaba ulungele lo mdlalo.
The team has left for City of Lome in Togo for their Friday game before their second game against Burkina Faso to a venue yet to be confirmed. For Eswatini TV Sports, Professor Msonera with Nomfundo Smelane. Loba.
Well, with that sports news, that brings us to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 here at Eswatini TV. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. The Prime Minister Cleopas Dlamini has returned home after attending the 16th African Union Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, where he had gone to represent His Majesty King Mswati III. Following the resolution by the House of Assembly that no child should be sent back home for owing school fees, the Minister of Education says government is in the process of paying for overseas academic fees at Form 1. And the Deputy Prime Minister, Themba Masuku, says the exposure to violence during childhood has exclusive damaging and negative consequences on the physical, socio-economical and mental aspect of the child. Beautiful Kingdom of Eswatini, we've come to the conclusion of our news bulletin at 8 at Eswatini TV. Thank you so much indeed for choosing to stay with us. We shall now cross over to the Weather Center for a detailed weather report from us and the rest of the crew here at Eswatini TV. For now, it's good night and God bless.